we're going to cut out the princess fabric. So I love my Guggenheim scissors. So these are ones that have a grip on there that cushions your fingers. These ones don't, but these are really nice dressmaker shears. And then I use different rotary cutters for different reasons. So I love the Wah-Whack one. It's very inexpensive, comes with extra blades. I buy them when they're on sale. I love this one. The next one that I really like is this little Fiskars one. This one is a great one, except for when I replaced the blade on this, I lost the washer. There's a washer that goes under, so this keeps loosening up. So if I'm in a hurry, I can't keep going back and tightening it. So I need to find a washer that'll fit there. But I absolutely love this. I got this at Hobby Lobby for 40% off one time. And then I also bought the extra blades, and they're the heavy dutier blades. The other Fiskars that I have used are these ones, which I don't like as much. I know everyone loves this Olfa, but I just don't. Anyway, I have this, I have the blades. I do have a really cool Olfa that I do like, which is the pinking shear one. That one works really cool. But this is usually not my first choice. So I'm gonna, hopefully my Wah-Whack blade will be, I think I have to replace it soon because I use it so much. So the first thing that we do is I have an acrylic ruler. Got these from Amazon, and I bought this from Amazon as well. So I'll link those below so you can have them. And then I have my big green mat. Now this mat goes to 47 inches, and it is a self-healing mat. I did get this one on Temu because this is the same exact model and brand that they had on Amazon for like $129, and then it had it on some websites for, you know, $99, etc. And on Temu, the exact same thing, same seller, it was $69. So I got it, and I've been very happy. I just wish it was pink. I do have a pink one that I use across my island here for my jewelry making and bookmarks and things like that, but it's smaller, and they just don't make them. I haven't found one that is this large. So another little trick I use is each one of these squares on your, it's hard for you to see over here, you can see each one of these squares is an inch. So what I did is I put it on 10 right here because I don't want to cut way over here. This is one of my cameras that I use, or stands I use. So I started at 10, and I said before in the last video that we're going to cut it to 16. Well, that obviously makes it to 26 right here. So I'm going to cut it up this way, and then this way we have to add an inch. So I'm going to go to the 15 up here because I'm losing an inch by not putting it way down here, but I want to see my markers here. So that's how I do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to cut it across because it's easier when you're cutting across at my 15. And I take my acrylic and I line it up with the line here and the line here. So you can't see this one here because of the let me see if I move this camera back just a little bit there. Okay. So you'll see that I have a line here and a line here, and I'm going to line it up to the 15 perfectly. Okay. And it's perfectly straight now. I'm going to take my cutter. You can use scissors or whatever, you know, rotary color you like. And then I'm just going to press and cut that across there. Then I'll just pull this up there so I can see this way. And I already evened this one down here out. So now I'm going to go to my 16 and mark it with the line right up here so that it goes straight across like this. Okay. And then I'm going to cut that off. And well, actually I'm going to have it just a touch more because Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I forgot that this is on the fold. So I am going to cut off just about 1/4 of an inch. No, maybe 1/8 of an inch. We'll just cut off. I think I can get that done. So this is a little harder because I have this in the way. Let's make sure that went all the way off. Yeah, just take your scissors when you have a little thread that doesn't come off. So now what I'll do is I'll move this over to the edge again, so that way I'm not messing up with my lines here, right? All right, so now we're going to come to the 16, which is right here. And I'm going to make this go straight up with my 16 up there, just like that. And we're going to take the rotary cutter, press down, and cut that off. Put this in your scrap pile because you don't throw any fabrics away. All right, so now we have the front and the back of the bag that we're going to make. So because I have this already done, now I'm going to go and take the batting, because we're going to need 2 pieces of the batting. I think I tried to trim this all off. Let me see if this is a big enough piece. I'm not sure if it is. Oh, it is. It's perfect. So I don't have to waste that piece. This one, I'm just going to take my scissors. It's just going to be a little easier. But you can use the rotary cutter for this as well. So that's one piece, and it doesn't matter. You can have it a little bit bigger because you're going to cut all that off after you quilt it. So this is one piece to quilt right here, which is fine. We just want to make sure it's nice and straight on there. And then we'll just probably, well, I'll probably trim this off so I don't get confused. Some of it off anyway. All right, so we'll get that off there. We'll put this one aside, and then we're going to cut one more piece out for the next piece. Let's see where we are at here. Nap, probably have to do it from this corner over here. There's no nap in your batting, so it doesn't matter. So we're just going to take this piece now. And if you want, it's just I've been sewing for so many years that I don't usually have to use the weights and all that. But for tutorial purposes, I should have done it on the other one. I'm sorry I didn't. You'll put some weights down to weight that down so you make sure you have a nice clean cut. And then you can come and take your whatever, let's see if, yeah, there we go. And then we'll just cut this here with the rotary so you can see either way. You can use scissors or your rotary cutter, whichever way you want to do it. You're always going to usually get a little snip there. Oh, that was very good there. Nice and smooth. So that's the batting that we need. So I bought these from Wawak. I love them. They're really cute little weights. You can pin it if you're more comfortable, if you're a beginner sewer. There's lots of ways you can use the weight of your ruler to do it too as well. So I'll put these back here. Things have to be organized. So now we have these 2 pieces cut out, and what I'm going to do is I have a laser light on my Amazon, which I'll link, from Amazon. I bought a laser light for my sewing machine, and it will show me where my quilt lines are, so I don't need to mark it. But in case you don't have that, I'm going to go ahead and mark the pieces that you need. And so how you're going to do that is you're just going to have your little rulers here, put this on a number you can easily, and if you want 2 inches, it's going to be at 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, like that. And then you can, I don't recommend chalk for quilting lines only because they get thick. So we're going to use a ink. Where's my blue one? Okay, so I'm going to use an ink pen here that's blue, so it'll show up. And we're just going to come along here. Actually, let's make this one the one that's even. It's easier to go this way. And then I'm going to put it at the 24 in the 24 line. And I'm just going to, this will come off with heat. So you just iron it very gently once we're done. The next one, and we'll do this one like this. That's good enough. And then another one, just making sure that you're lining up that ruler. And this will be really pretty this way. And then we're here. And then once you get this one done, you can do the same thing with the other one, with the other piece. Then we're going to have to get a piece of lining, figure out which fabric we want to use for the lining. So I'll be looking through my fabrics for that because I can't carry my camera around. There's just too many places I have my fabric stored. So, well, there we go. Now, another little trick, little thing that helps you is when you take this to the machine and you're doing this, if you start in the middle, you're not going to have a lot of give. So I like to start in the middle, go to one side, and then come back and do the other side. So right here, we're just going to take some clips just to hold it in place so it doesn't, so it just holds it in place a little bit for you while you're sewing it. If you want to put one on each line, you can do that, just to make sure that it doesn't move around when you start to get crooked lines. Okay, and then we're going to turn it around and push this back. Start in the middle. I always recommend actually starting in the middle. Should have done that before. There we go. And always, before you put your next one in, just kind of smooth your fabric and your batting. Make sure that you're getting the straight lines here. I don't recommend, now some people will, but I don't usually recommend doing this part here. We might want to take one because it'll start to push out. And when it does that, it'll bunch up. So I don't like to do that that way, but we could just put one in the middle just to stabilize it. And you can take it out if you see that it's starting to cause a problem. Just take that clip off. But this is just so it doesn't move around while I go to take it to the machine. The other thing I like to do is I like to stitch it in the direction from the top to the bottom of how the bag is going to go. So that's the other thing. So now this is ready. It's every 2 inches. I'm going to quilt every 2 inches. So you can use a walking foot or a regular machine. This is usually now this will get bunched up, so you do need your seam ripper with you so you can push it through, which we'll go through that when we're doing the sewing. So that's that one. I'm going to bring that to the machine. What I'm going to do now is get the other one ready. I'm going to go off camera. I'll get the other piece ready, and I will look for the lining, and we'll be back. All right, so the fabric that I'm going to use for the inside lining is going to be this one here. It's really cute. It's very feminine, and it's very more juvenile than many of my other fabrics, which is kind of what we wanted. So you can see how pretty that looks together. Actually, this would make a very nice strap. And I have a ton of this fabric. I'm trying to remember, I thought that I had bought it at Hobby Lobby, but I bought over 20 yards, so I don't think I bought it at Hobby Lobby, unless it was on a closeout. But I think I got it from Fabric Warehouse on sale for about $1.99 a yard or something like that. But I do know that I bought it online because I have a huge bolt of it. This is just the first piece I bought to see if I liked it or not. It's another reason why I think I got it from Fabric Wholesale Direct. So what we're going to do is, this is how I bolt my fabrics. So I'm just going to pull out my pin right there. And then we're going to take the same measurements that we did. It's going to be a little bit harder because my camera is right there. And I need to open this. And might have to just take the whole, no, I think I'm good. So now I'm going to grab my fabric here, put my ends together. Make sure that I have this squared up. And that's sometimes hard because a lot of times fabrics aren't quite square when you buy them. So we don't need a lot. But what I do need is room. So I need room to see my measurements. Let me move these things off. Don't need all of them anymore. Some of those are just to show you the different tools you can use. So I'm going to push this up, push this, and make sure I get it all nice and neat here. Oh, that's crooked again. We want to make sure that these salvages meet. Like that. We only need 2 pieces. So again, I'm going to start over here at 10. And we are going to cut, oops, let's make sure that's all even there. Might have to come back and trim some of it later, but I tried to avoid that. I'd rather spend a little time working out the kinks in the fabrics and making sure, see how. So I need to go to here. So that gives me plenty of room there. Let me just bring this down a little tiny bit more. Just a tiny bit there. But we need to re-stretch this out again because we got to go up to 15, which is about there. All right, I think this looks good. All right, so now what we're going to do again, the same thing that we did, is we are going to cut, this time we can't see it. We don't have the line up there, so we know that we need to go from 16. And what you can do to make that easier, since everything's kind of covered up, is you can take the one that's not, where's the one? The one that's not, sorry, the one that doesn't have clips in it, and you can just lay it over so that you know you're getting the right cut. Yeah, that's good too. And if it goes off a tiny bit, you can trim that up later. All right, so we're just going to take this now and we are going to cut. And I'm going to cut just a tiny bit over that, about 1/4 of an inch over, because then I know I'm hitting where there's some extra quilting fabric coming out, batting, I mean. And then that's fine because I'm going to trim this. We're going to square it off after the quilting is done. All right, so there's that piece. And now we'll just come over here, do the same thing over here. This one I will be cutting off some of this batting at the top as I go over. There we go. See, yep, just a tiny piece. And let's lift this up and make sure, oh, just a tiny bit of, happens to me on my corners. All right, so now we have 2 pieces for the lining, and we are going to interface these just to give them some nice stability inside the bag. So that's going to be the next thing, is to cut out some interfacing, fusible interfacing. And you can make it as stiff as you want, but I'm showing you how I made the one that I made for my granddaughters and their friends. So we're going to just use regular interfacing for these. All right, so that's there. Now I need to fold back this, get this back on the row, which I'll do this after I take off the camera. So I will roll this back up on the bolt, and then we will get the interfacing cut out. And then I will just go to the ironing board, and we won't film that part. I will go to the ironing board to just fuse that on, and then we'll go to the sewing machine to do the quilting. So the next step before we do the quilting and everything is I cut piece 30 inches long and about, let's see, it's about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 inches wide. And these are going to become the straps. Now these are, usually we do our straps for adult bags at like 44 inches. So like, or 42, depends on the bag. But this one we're going to do at 30 because it's more of a tote bag that you carry, but a little girl could put it on her shoulder. But if a grown-up were to buy one, because I know I have adults that want to buy these, it's more of a carrying tote. So not a crossover bag or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the iron and we're going to fold this. I'm just going to show you what we're going to do. I'm not going to film over the iron. It's a little bit hard to film over there. So what I'm going to do, and you can also do, what we call finger pressing. So you can do this with the mini Cricut easy press thing, or you can do it like with a steam iron, which is what I'm going to do. So you're going to make that crease in the middle so that when you open it up, you have that crease. Then you're going to come in and you're going to crease this again, like so. If you're making them really fast and you need to get them done, then, you don't really, a lot of people won't iron them. I like the iron look though, but you can finger press it like this. Then you're going to take this side over and finger press that into that side right there. Yeah, like this, see? So you're going to finger press all of that like so. And you can make the straps as long or as short as you want. So it doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. So now, then after those then we're just going to take this one back over. So now we've closed it. And this, I like this technique because you don't have to turn it out. So when you do them, some people will teach you how to do it in a way that you have to turn them inside out. That takes so long. So I don't do that. This is so much easier because, and you can also put interfacing. If you're going to do interfacing, then only do the interfacing on half, fold it in, and not on the whole thing. So you can use some interfacing to make the strap stronger. And then I like to steam press this all to make it. And I even use my clapper, which is right here. So as soon as then I'll just come and clap that down after I have ironed that. And you just go like this and it makes those creases stick really nicely. It doesn't work when you don't have the hot iron. Then what you're going to do is you are just going to top stitch it here, and you can top stitch it on both sides if you want. You can make 3 lines. I like the 3 lines. So I'll do a stitch there, I'll do a stitch here, and then one in the center. You can do a whole bunch of them, whatever you like to do. And then this will become your strap. And that's a good size strap if I put it on if I'm just carrying the bag, because this is not a shoulder bag. So I would be carrying the tote bag like this, which is just perfect. And if it's for a child, then of course it can go on her shoulders. So we're going to get these ready. And you can make your straps out of whatever you could have done. I could have done it out of the lining. I could have done it with webbing. Many, many ways that you can make straps for bags. But this is how we're going to do this one. We're going to go ahead and, the first thing that we need to do, you see how this is like this here? The first thing I'm going to do is in order to quilt, I am going to be putting this one here on. This one here, when you take that off, it's for your top stitching around hook sleeves and things like that. There. So this will give us a bigger platform, especially when we're doing quilting. So on this one here, remember we talked about this, I'm going to start in the middle, on the middle one, because that way it's pushing everything out this way as you're going. So we start in the middle with a stitch, and I like to do about 350 for my stitch, sometimes 400, or we've got 360, that's fine. We're going to remove this first clip, of course, and we are going to move this up here more. Make sure that my bottom thread, one of the tricks to use so you don't get that bird nesting going on, is to hold these 2 pieces when you first start your stitching. You're going to put down put this under, put my thread under the press, my presser foot. Okay, and remember we're gonna do, you don't need to do, when you're doing this part here, you don't need to do back stitching, because that's gonna this top part is all gonna get caught, put into the lining, etc. Now I have this really cool, I don't know if you can see the cord, the electricity there, but I have this laser light. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, see that laser light going? And I can turn this however I need it to go. And once you have it where you want, it'll guide you on your stitches. And then once you get your first one done, you can create, we're not going to because I have lines on it this time, but you can see the cross right there. Can you see that on the video? That is going to be your measurement stick, so to speak. Now, I love this. I'll link it below. It's always linked in my descriptions and all of my videos because I love this laser. I got it on Amazon and it's just amazing to use. But because we have our lines drawn on this for a beginner, like if it was just me sewing without doing a tutorial, I would not draw lines. I would just use my laser and just go for it. And it saves a ton of time. So what we're going to do is just going to take it manually and I'm going to put it in there. Hold the strings back for just a second. There we go. And now we're starting, just staying with that line. And all of this pen comes off when you're just going to want to go to the iron and iron it off. It dissolves in the heat. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I have this one almost all the way done. Now to save time, and especially if you're going to do this in bulk, like an assembly, what I'm doing is I'm going to take my next one, my other side, and I am going to, you'll see that I have just a tiny bit of fabric there left. I am going to go ahead and put my next fabric right there and just keep going like this. And that way you don't have to cut the strings, you know, or anything like that. And so then I'm just going to do my second one. It saves you a lot of time to go back and forth. And we will end up having to cut to get to the next one, but still we're saving a lot of time doing it this way. And we're going to keep on doing this. Now I'm going to go here and cut. I'm not going to use my Bernina cutter. I'm going to use these because it was so tight. I didn't want to cut the fabric by accident. So now I'm here going to my second line. I did that first one and now that was the one in the center. So now I'm going to go to the right, pick the next one, and come right here, just like I did before, and just keep sewing. And then push it. As you're doing that, I want you to use your hand and kind of like hand press it as you're going down, just so you keep the puckering at a very minimum. When you have quilting, you're always going to get a tiny bit of puckering. Stop right before the end there. Take your other piece, come over, I'm going to cut it, cut that string because it's a really tight string there. Leave this one in, come and start with the second line on the other side. Sometimes you have to push the batting down or you can trim it. Here we go. And we're just going to keep doing this over and over again. We'll just keep on going until that's finished. All right, so I have put the interfacing on the lining. Now what we're going to do is we'll just put the two pieces of lining together to make this easier. Then what I have is I have one of these Dritz little squares, and it is 2 inches. Now, a lot of the patterns say 6 centimeters, which is about 2 1/3 inches, but I like to do about 2 inches, especially on the princess bags. So what all you have to do is take it and put it in the corner like this. Let's see, out here, so you can see it. And then what I do, what we're going to, oops, let's put this back on. It's not on correctly. All right, so we have it lined up. There we go. You can also do it right here on your cutting board. Each one of these is an inch. So you could go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then just cut it like this. Or you can take this and make it this way. You can make sure. And then I take the pen. Now this part you're not going to see because it's inside the bag, but you could iron it after and take the ink out. You're going to just, this is going to be cut out anyway, so you're probably not going to see it. You mark it there and mark it there, come out, and you see where I have the marks there. And then you do the same thing to the other side over here, just like this. You're going to mark it, and that's going to give you your 2 inches. Then you can either use a rotary cutter or you can use scissors. I like to use scissors to do it. And you're just going to cut, you have both of them going on at the same time. And we're just going to cut that out. And over here, we're going to do the same thing. So now for the lining, what you're going to do is you're going to put these the right sides together, like so. You are going to, what I like to do is, because this is where we don't need to turn it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to sew here, and we are going to sew here. We're going to leave this piece here open, and we are going to sew across the bottom here. So we're going to sew here, here, and here. And we're going to leave open an opening here from here to here. Now with this pattern, I'm trying to remember if I actually needed that opening there or if I did it up at the top. But I think I did it up at the top. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll look that up before we start to sew this just to make sure. But right now, we're just going to fit these together. And we're going to take our clips and put them here. You do not sew this part. This becomes the box corner. And that's after you have these other places. Now there's another way that you can do this, and I like to do this way a lot. Let me just grab a piece of fabric and show you. So instead of doing the box cut here, you could actually just sew it all, like not cut that out, sew everything, and then sew like this, and then just cut that. So that's another option, and that goes a lot faster if you want to do it that way. I'm showing you the typical way that people do it. I would recommend doing this way if you're just starting to sew. If you aren't experienced at sewing, then I would recommend just making the hole, leaving this open, and then just sewing all the way down here, all the way up here, and then afterwards you would come, you would sew a line diagonal across, and then just come and cut that off. So that's what I would do if you've already been sewing for a while. But that can get a little confusing for beginners. I'm going to turn this around, and we're going to clip this side here. I always start at the middle so I can make sure that it's going to be even. So there, that's that. We're going to leave a part this time. So whenever you want to leave a part open, so you don't accidentally, because no matter how many years I've sewed, I can't tell you how many times I've had to rip things out. What I like to do is put regular pins and not clips. The pin tells me not to sew past that pin mark. Otherwise, I could, if I just had clips there, I could make a big mistake. So now we're going to go to the machine, and we will sew this. We will sew here. We will sew here. We will sew this. We're going to leave the top open. Okay, and that's our lining. Now, for, oh, we have one more thing to do. Never mind. Actually, no, we have one more thing. We're going to add the pocket. Well, let's just put that over there for now. And then over here, This is both of these sides, right? So these are going to go right sides together. Make sure that the princess she's facing up. So this is going to be the bottom down here, and this is going to be the top of the bag. So what I want to do is come in here and just, because of quilting, things end up not even. So I like to just come in here and make sure that this is nice and even. Yeah, that's good. And now again, we're going to come in with our little thing here. Now this time, it's going to be hard to draw on that. You can still do it, or you can use chalk. Sometimes I think chalk is easier. And then I'm just going to cut this piece out here. There's that one. Do the same to the other side. And we know it's about 2 inches because each one of our quilting lines is 2 inches. So it kind of helps us a little bit there. There we go. So now we have that. And here we are going to, before we do that, we're going to I'm going to go ahead and sew my label on here. And we're going to figure out where we want the straps. So, but I think I'm going to do the straps after I sew these pieces together. But before I sew these, I'm going to figure out which side I want for my front, which I believe is going to be this guy here. And then I'm going to get my label. So for the label, what I'm going to do is I figure how much is going to come off of my seam, probably about down to here, which I'll make a little mark there. This is the middle. So I know that when I'm turning, it's going to be at least there. And then I want it to come down. Whoops, my camera was on the ruler there. And then I'm going to come down here and just see, like, well, how far, what do you think looks good? Like probably around 2 inches maybe. So I'm going to then put this right in the middle. And the trick to this is you can use this no-sew temporary fabric glue. You can use glue sticks. There's so many things you can use. Fabric fusion, it doesn't matter. You can even use water-soluble Elmer's glue. So it doesn't matter which glue you use. The only reason that I have these is because I found them at Hobby Lobby for 99 cents. So that's a super good price. It's cheaper than the Dollar Tree for glue sticks or whatever, you know, but I get glue sticks for like 10 cents each at Walmart each year. So I get tons of them. But so now I figure I want it to go right about there. And I'm going to let that sit there for just a minute and let it dry a little bit. And then this way you're not putting pins in your label. And when I go to sew it, it will sew all around it. I'm just going to let that sit there for a minute. So we won't do that. Let's work on the pocket next. I'm going to put that over there because I want to do that before we put that together. Put the glue away. Oh, you don't want glue on the... I have a special mat, a Dollar Tree mat, a small one of these that I do my gluing on. So that way if it spills, I'm not always cleaning it up. So I don't like to put it on this mat. So now we want to work on a pocket. And let's look back at this. And let's go ahead and actually take all of these off. We'll do this again. This is what happens. I am going to go ahead and... So we're just going to take these out for now. And then we're going to turn one of these around. So we don't need them on both. Well, you could do them on both. We're going to line this up on the mat. Okay. So that we have a nice placement for so we can use these scraps here, which would be really cute, right? Or we could use the very same fabric. Where did I put that? So whichever one you like to use, we can also put, if you wanted to, you could take this and you could put a front pocket here. One of the things you could do if you had longer straps, which we don't today, is you could put a pocket here and then you could put your straps on top to sew the pocket in. You would use your straps. Of course, you would turn this piece over like so. and top stitch that first. Then you'd come back, put that on, and then you'd use your straps to put, and then of course sew that at the bottom. That's a great way to use the straps that come all the way down the bag, but we're not going to use that on the princess bag. So the princess bag is not going to have a pocket in the front. It's going to have a pocket inside the bag. Let me find that fabric real quick. Here it is. Let's see if it would look better. I think it would look better with the it being the same fabric. So let's look and see what we have here. Oh yeah, we have a nice piece here. We can just cut some of this off. I'll just cut a piece off here. Let's move this out of the way. And I'm just going to kind of wing it. I'm not even going to like super measure it, because we'll cut it down or to the size we want. And I can use the scraps for something else. So you see how I'm lining, I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. How I'm lining it up against the lines here to make sure that I have it even. And I'll put it right up there so it's even there, even there. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's a little bit of crookedness, but that's not a big deal. And I'm going to measure, I'm going to say I want the pocket to be probably about this big. It won't go all the way down, but of course it's nice to have it folded. So we're going to come here to this side here, and we're going to take the rotary, where's my rotary cutter? And we are going to cut this, whoops, like so. Oh, that didn't go. Let me, okay, there we go. All right, so that was done. Go ahead and fold this back up, put it back away. I can't work in a mess, so I'm pretty strict about putting everything where it goes. And back in here to my bolt like so. Just put that back. What we're going to do with this is we're going to come back, bring this one of these back down, and look and see how big do we want this pocket. And I think that we're going to drop it to about here, because remember we're having this turned in about a ½ inch or so. So I think we're going to drop it just a touch down here, and then we're going to see how long we want to make this. And I'm going to keep it folded, because this way we can, it's already kind of ready for us to stitch and then turn over. So I think I like it about, let's do here and here, and we are going to mark this. And I think getting the pocket about this big would be fun for anybody, right? So that's a good size pocket. Fits your phone. We're going to take our pen and we're going to mark this. So we don't want to cut through that bag, right? So that's a pretty good size. Yeah, I like that. All right, a little pocket. I'm going to take this, put it over here, and then we're just going to line this up here. We're going to make it just a touch bigger for the seam allowance here. So I'm going to go 1 inch longer, I think. Right about there, I like that. Okay. Then here, I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, make sure it's good and cut. Yep. Alrighty. Put this away. All right, now we have a pocket, and we are going to turn this way. Okay, you can finger press that here like this. And then we're going to come and sew here and sew here, turn it around, and then top stitch the top there. Okay, so just finger press it really good. We're going to press it afterwards, or you don't have to, it doesn't really matter. But right now we're going to stitch here, we're going to stitch here, and then we're going to stitch just a little bit here and a little bit here to turn it so that these corners, we can push those out. Okay, so that's what we are going to do next. Then what we're going to do is, once that's done, we're going to take this, pretend this is the right side, and we are going to come and place it, make sure we have it in the center, And then a really good trick is you can just fold your fabric in half, do a little finger press right there so you can see that, and then come in and make that little mark there so you know that that is the middle. And then you do the same thing with your fabric, especially if you don't have a mat like I do. Come in, press this down like so with your finger so it has a little tiny crease. You can see the crease right there. Come in with your pen and mark that, and you know now that's your center. Okay, then you can line it up to your mat if you want, and you can line this up to the mat. Of course, we're going to do this again because we have to still sew, and then our mark will be gone. And then we're going to say, okay, I want it about there. And then we'll sew. This time you won't be able to use clips. You'll have to use pins because it's too far away to use a clip. And so then we'll pin this down and then go to the machine and sew that. Okay. Okay, so now the pocket is sewn and it's inside out. So what we want to do is we want to trim. You want to get rid of these little, pieces of thread that are sticking out. Some of them don't matter because they'll be inside, but it's just annoying sometimes. But the trick to turning these is to snip this little edge here, just a tiny bit like that. Don't go into the stitching, but just stitch, because this is going to help you turn. And then when you turn this pocket, you're going to use, so you can use your fingers and you're turning it, but I like to use a chopstick. So I have a chopstick that has a fat end and a skinny end. So it depends on what I'm pushing. So I'm going to use the sharp end for this one because it's just doesn't have any, interfacing or anything like that in there. Now you can add interfacing to your pockets. I've made double pockets for my kids and my grandkids, and they love it because then they think they have like a secret pocket. So that's fun to make as well. So now we're going to just make sure that these are pushed out, and they are. Going to come around here. You're going to make sure that these are pushed out. All the sides are actually pushed out. Actually, these ones we didn't. Yeah, we did clip those. Kind of like sharp still there. So we're going to push that out a little bit there. And that looks good. So now what we're going to do is you can either just finger press all of this. This one here needs to be pushed out more. There. You can either just finger press all this to save time. It's fine. Turn these in like so. Now you see how we had that line there? We don't need that anymore, so we can turn it this way. Okay. And now again, we're going to line up. You can just keep pressing this, or we want to top stitch this actually before we push this, before we sew it on. So we're just going to go to the machine and top stitch this. I'm not going to iron it to save time. Finger pressing works just fine. This is on inside pocket as well, so it's not a big deal. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go do that now. And then what we're going to do, because I'll do this all at once. Once I finger press that, once I top stitch that, I'm just going to come back. And remember, I'm going to line up this line here with the pocket. And then I'm going to take my pins, these pins here, and I am going to pin this like so. And so come in and I'm going to sew around here and around here and around here. Of course, we're not going to sew the top. That's been top stitched. That's going to give you the clue that that's the part that you do not sew in. Otherwise, you won't have a pocket. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do those things on the machine just for sake of time. I think you know how to do that part. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Okay, so here is the pocket. It looks so cute. And it is on the inside, so you don't have like raw edges or anything when you do it this way. And it's the same fabric inside and over here and outside. You've seen like where people make them and you'll have raw edges or something like that. So this is like so perfect. I love the way that this works. So now what we'll do is go back to that other step that we had, and we are going to go ahead and start to clip this all. And then we will go and sew it. So remember, I want to go this way here and make sure that these are all lined up well. This one's not quite lined up. I don't like that. All right, there we go. Sometimes when you add something to your pattern, to your design, it can throw off alignments. And so it's not a big deal if you're using a 5/8 inch, which is what I usually do. So you see how here it comes up. So when I sew this, I'm going to make sure that when I'm sewing like a 5/8 and it's going to catch that. All right, remember here we want to make sure these line up really well. And we want to put the two, remember we're going to put these 2 pins there, right? Like this. So that way we know not to sew right there because we want to turn this later. Now here, I don't like the way this is going, so I am going to firm this up just a tiny bit more here. And it looks like I might have to trim that. So I think what I'm going to do is just take my scissors and I'm just going to trim this just a tiny bit there, and probably have to trim this just a tiny bit there. So that way when we come in to do our box corners, they're not going to be all crooked. So we want to make sure that those are going to be good there. All right, so there we go there. This one here is pushing it a little bit. I don't like that. So we want to make sure, and this is fine. If we have to, I'd rather go crooked up here. Like I'd rather have this being off than down at the box corners, because that you can trim easy or whatever. So these look, again, we need to fix this box corner here. I want to make sure that this is not lining up right. I want to make sure that box corner is going to be really good. So we're going to turn it over just to make sure. And again, I'm going to trim that just a tiny bit. I want to make sure that that box corner stays the way we want it. And we're going to have to push this over here. That's perfect. And then we're going to have to do these again. Sometimes you have to do that. And there we go. All right. So now we're going to go to the machine. We're going to sew here. We're going to sew here. We're going to sew here, and we're going to sew there. Okay, because we have to have it all sewn in order to sew these box corners, which I'll show you next. And in the meantime, I still have to go sew the label on the front of the main one. All right, so I have my label on here. So now we're going to take this piece here. This is our outer layer. We're going to take the back of that and we are going to line it up like we did before. And for this one, we're going to sew all along here. We're going to sew all along here, and we're going to sew all the way across the bottom. We're not going to sew on the box corners yet. Now, when you're doing this batting, what happens is this will get stuck in the machine as you're pushing it. So I take a seam ripper, pretend this is a seam ripper, and I'll just push it, help it guide it through. And then I also have my snippers, of course, little snippers, not scissors like this, and I will clip these little clippies when they get stuck in the presser foot. So that's all you have to do for that. So now what we're going to do is we don't want to sew the top, and we also want to make sure, you always have to check how to square it off, because when you're quilting, and you can see right here, see how it's not quite even. So I'm just going to take my scissors and kind of trim this here so that I don't end up missing seams, you know, so you don't want to do that. So that's why you want to just kind of make sure all of this is even, and it looks really good. Let me turn it around and make sure this, yeah, it looks super good. So we're going to take our clips now, and we are going to clip all along these edges here. And this, to push that just a little bit there. Okay, so that side's done. Now we're going to come over to the other side. Don't do the bottom until last. And then you're going to clip here in the middle. Pour out a couple more put one there, and you're going to put one there. And then we are going to do the bottom. So we were going to start in the middle again, and then one on each end. Okay, so that's the next step that we're going to do. And we're going to sew here, we're going to sew there, and we're going to sew here. Then what we're going to do is do those box corners next. So we'll come back and I'll show you how to do those. All right, so now we have sewn the outer part of the fabric. And what I want to do is I want to come in and just trim a little bit so that when we turn it, you don't get a bunch of bunching. So I like to just trim. You don't want to break the seams that you sewed. And so you just want to trim a little bit of this off. See, like that. And then on this side here, this one doesn't need. All right, so now we have that all trimmed off. It's the tiny things that matter the most. Now what we're going to do is to make the box corner, we're going to take the fabric, those two edges, and we're going to push them together like this. Do you see that? So you're going to take it and you want to make sure, you see how you have this seam here? You want to make sure you match it up with the other seam. That's very, very important. Otherwise, it's going to look funny at the end. Now, you also want to push. Now, some people, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Some people want to push one seam this way and one seam this way. Some people want to push them both the same way. Some people like to open them, which is kind of hard to do on this. To open them up, that's a dress. So if you're a dressmaker, you're used to doing that, where you're going to open each one and then sew across that. It's kind of hard to do with the batting, so I like to just go one way for one and the other way for the other. And then I'm going to put a pin in there because that's very important. I mean, a clip there because that's super important. Then I'm going to clip here just to make sure that I don't go off. And I'm going to clip the end right here. So then what I'm going to do is when I go to the machine, I am going to sew across like that, okay? Now we're going to do the same thing again on this other side. So on this side here again, we're going to take, you see how it's like this? You have to take it, push it the other way. See, like this? It looks weird. It feels weird. And then you're going to make sure again that those seams line up. So no matter which way you want to do it is fine. So I'm going to go one way with one, the other way with the other. It just makes it less bulky for me. And then we're going to make sure that we have each end clipped here like this. Okay. Now we're going to go to the machine and we're just going to stitch this on both of these, and I'll go do that and we'll be right back. Okay, so now these are sewn. See how this is sewn? And this one here was sewn. So now I am going to trim these, and especially in the center here to get rid of that bulk. We don't want that bulk there. Okay, and same on the other side. We're going to try to get rid of some of that bulk. Okay, yeah, there we go. As long as we don't cut into the seam, we're fine. Now what we're going to do is we are going to turn this around to the right side. And then you can see what happens with these box corners. So you take your little chopstick here and we just push those out to make sure that they're nice and even and look balanced. So there we go with that. We're going to do the same thing with the other side. This is a nice deep pocket, so this is going to be a nice tote. And you can make these any size you want with these box corners. You can do 1 inch. You can do no inch. You don't even have to do a box corner if it's just a plain tote bag. But these, see how nice this makes this? So you'll see that I have my, it's hard for you to see on this camera. We'll do another, I'll lift it up to do another side of this, but you see how this is sitting up now? So that's really pretty. So now what we're going to do is, before we do the lining, we need to move this. So this is like this, and we're pushing it down. Again, putting against your mat so you can count your inches and see where the center is again, which we already have a center mark here. So we know a center's here, so we're going to want to move that to a center line just to make it easier, okay? So there's the center. Because now we need to add the straps. The main thing to remember about adding your straps is you've got to add them in the right way. So if you don't want to make them so that they're twisted, okay? So a lot of people, that happens a lot, no matter, I've done it, no matter how good you are, you will make that mistake one day. So now we want to see where we want to put these straps. So here's the center, and usually you want to do 1, 2, 3, 4 inches. So usually when you do strap, it's about 4 inches away. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. So this would be your strap, and you can see that if I put them both down like this, you can see that it's the correct way. It's not going to be twisted. These ones you got to use pins for. So I will do a pin here, okay, on that side, and a pin here. And then we are going to turn the bag around. And now we don't have, what we're going to do is we are going to line up these straps right here in the center like so, because we know that the next strap has to match those. So we're going to take this strap now, and we are going to put it here and right on top. That's a little cheat little tip I have. So you don't have to worry. Now don't go like this because you're going to twist it. Make sure that your strap stays the right way, okay? So here we're going to put it right here, exactly where the other one is. This time we need a pin, not a clip. Oops, let me get some more out because that's kind of hard to grab that one. And we're going to pin, I just stabbed myself. Hopefully it's not bleeding. Yep, it's bleeding. It's bleeding, which I don't want to get blood on. I don't want to get blood on my, let me grab a napkin. So when I teach these tutorials, I like you to see my mistakes. So we want to make sure that this bleeding stops. I'll hold it there just because I don't want to get blood on. And this one here, let's make sure I'm doing it right, has to go here. And yes, and so you're just going to kind of look at the straps and make sure they're going in the right direction. That's the hardest thing. My mind just doesn't work that way, so it can be tough for me. Okay, so now we're going to have that like so. Now what I like to do is I like to go and baste these, or you can sew them, but just to make sure that they're in place. A lot of people, to save time, won't do that, and they'll just go ahead and do the lining and turn it. But this is the way I like to do it. So now I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to just stitch these across because I don't want them to move out of place. So like I said, if I make mistakes, I'm going to show you my mistakes. So what I did, I taught you wrong. So just pay attention. This, I taught you to put the straps on this way. They need to be this way. So when you tape, it's the same thing, but when you pin it, you're going to pin it so that your strap comes down instead of, because you're going to have it inside the bag. And so you don't want it going up like I had it. You got to have it coming down. So that is, I caught that right before I started sewing it. So your straps are down here, not up here like I showed you in the first one. So make sure you make that edit and that change. I am not going to change my video because I want you to learn that when you make mistakes, it's okay. And when you follow something and it doesn't work, it's okay. So that's the whole point of doing these tutorials is, and then I might change my mind as I'm doing it. I might see something better and then teach you that. So anyway, I am going to go sew these now. All right, so now the lining is done. We have the nice pocket inside there. Okay, and now remember we left an opening here. That's very important because that's where we're going to turn it. Now we have the box corners to do. So here, do the same thing like we did with the front fabric. So you're going to, this is a little stiffer than the quilted fabric, so you're going to have to play around with it a little bit. Here, I really suggest that you put one seam one way and the other seam the other way, just for less bulk there. You see that? How that, let's see if I can get you, see like that? Okay, so we're going to do that, and we're going to pin that there. And just repeat the same thing like we did with the outer fabric. So we're going to do this here. I like how I'm doing the tutorials like the way that I would like them done. I watch so many tutorials that are just take too fast, like they just go so fast and I don't get it. So and then I have to watch them over and over again, and then they miss the steps, and I don't want that. So I want to make sure I'm not missing any steps for you. So here, again, let's push this one this way and this one this way. Okay, so in opposite directions, but make sure that those seams line up. And then what we're going to do is put a clip there. The reason you want to put a clip there first instead of over here is to keep those seams aligned, okay? Otherwise they can move and then you have a crooked seam, a crooked box. You don't want that. All right, so now we're going to sew here and we are going to sew this, okay? All right, so here is the lining. We have the opening here, which is what we're going to stuff all the stuff through. And then here is our box corners. And again, let's just trim them just a little bit. Get some of that bulk out of the way. And same on the other side. This one doesn't need a lot because the seam I made was really kind of close. There we go. So that's done. So now what we're going to do is we will make sure that these box corners are like this. Now I want to just check, so I'm going to turn this outside. I'm going to turn this the right way just to make sure everything is fine. I want to check the pocket. You'll see that we will poke these through later. Okay, and here is the beautiful lining. Isn't that pretty? And I love it because it's stiff. This fabric, this cotton is very stiff, so it makes for a super strong lining. I just love it. And here's the beautiful pocket. It's so cute. All right, now we're going to go on to the next step. All right, so now we're going to turn it back to the wrong side like this, and we have the wrong side of the lining like this. Okay. All right, hopefully I have enough video there for that. I should rise this up somehow, but I don't think, you know what, let me try to just move this. Let me try a book just to raise it. Let's see if I can't raise this up just a little bit. Not sure if that's going to work. Okay, maybe it will. Yes, that will work. Okay, so now we have the wrong side here and we have the right side here. And we are going to stick this. Now remember, you're going to want to make sure that your handles are down, okay? Your straps are down. And we are going to push, and you want to also decide before you do this, where do you want the pocket? Do you want the pocket in the front of the bag or in the back of the bag? And I like mine in the front. So I'm going to take the part that has my label, okay? And I'm going to put that inside Make sure all the straps are in there, otherwise you're going to have a problem later. And we stuff all that in there, okay? And then I'm going to come over here and make sure that my label, see, is on the side where that pocket is going to be. And I'm going to, now what you're going to do is you're going to stuff this all in, okay? And what you're going to do next is you're going to line up your seams first. That's the most important part. So I'm going to trim this one. I don't like this right here. So I'm going to just trim that. And I think I'll do it on the other side. Yeah, I have been designing so long that some of these things are kind of like my little pet peeves. So now I'm going to, and I also see how I have this little piece of batting on the outside. I'm going to remove that as well, just so that I can, you know, not have issues with lining up. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take the lining seam and the outer, you know, your main seam, and make sure those line up perfectly. That's so important. And again, here you have your choice. If you're a dressmaker, you're going to want to open, a lot of times you'll even, dressmakers will even iron these open, okay? Or finger press them open, and then finger press this one open. So I'm not going to do that, because when I'm using these battings, a lot of times you see how my two pieces of fabric are not really there. It's hard to see. So what I am going to do is, like the rest of them, I am going to put one seam one way and the other seam the other way. And I try to go with the way that they flow naturally. Okay, so I try not to force it. And both ways are fine. So you can do it whichever way you want. So now I'm going to take a clip and clip it right there. That's the most important part, is that seam. Now I'm going to turn the bag around for you so you can see. And again, I'm going to do the same thing, but you see how I have a little bit of it's not quite where I want it. So I'm going to just snip that a little bit there. And I have some strings here I have to get rid of. All right, I already had snipped this, so that's fine. Now what I'm going to do again, I am going to take the seam from the, push this down a little bit, from the outer fabric, match that seam exactly with the inner fabric. And again, I'm going to go one way with one of them and the other way with the other, and clip that. All right, so now we have those clipped, right? So now what we're going to do is come here to the center, push it. I want you to stretch it just a tiny bit. Find your center, and you're going to put a clip there. This makes it so that you're having some center and you're not going off center. Now I'm going to push it with my fingers like this to stretch it out. Grab another clip, and I'm going to put it in the next center, okay? And this one, you can't have too many clips because you want it to be perfectly aligned. So now I'm going to take another, and you see here, I'm going to stretch this and put it right there. Now I'm going to take another one and I'm going to stretch it and put it right here, okay? Can't have too many. Now I'm working on this section. So on this section, remember, you've got your straps right there, so it's going to be a little thicker. So now that strap is going to become my center. And I'm going to push that pin there. And now you see how perfect it is? There's no give here. So that's very simple. I can just put my clip there. And here I have a tiny bit of give. So I'm going to just, whoops. Let me go back to that center there. Now I want this little piece here is kind of, I don't want it to pucker when I'm sewing it. So I am going to, it looks like it's going to pucker. So now I have to be really careful of how I stretch that. And I think I'm going to have to put one here and then do another one. I have a feeling Yes, I'm going to have to put another one even closer there. So that way it doesn't. Now we're going to flip it over and we're going to do the same thing on this side. Now here, you see how I have some batting still sticking out? So I am going to just take my scissors, and the batting part doesn't matter. It's not going to help anything at the top of the bag, so I'm not concerned about that. All right, so now here I'm going to go again for the center. Remember, pushing it out so I can see my center. Pull it in, make sure it's all centered. And I like it about right there. And we are going to put this clip there. And now we're going to push this. And we've got a nice clip to put there. Okay, now we have to do this section here. And now we have to do this section here to make sure there's no pucker. But because there's a tiny bit of pucker, I am going to want to clip it twice just to make sure. And as you're sewing, you can stretch it with your hands. You can pull it. So that's what I do. Here, again, I don't quite like this here, so I'm going to just a tiny bit to there. All right, now I'm going to pull this up. Perfect. And I have that strap there, which is where I want to clip for the center of this section. Then I want to clip here. And clip here. And again, this time I don't need two. There's no puckering going on there. So we're fine with just one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the machine and we are going to sew all of this. Now when I sew all of this, I am going to take off the, actually I'll go and show you. Okay, so now we're at the sewing machine, and what I'm going to do for top stitching and going around in a circle like that, I am going to remove this piece of my machine. If you have this one, you're going to want to, I never get it right, you're going to want to slide it off. So you just slide that off. And now you just have this piece here, which is really makes it easy to go around circles. So you see that? So now what I want to do is I want to decide where I want the prettiest part of the purse. So do I want it in the front? If I make any mistakes, I want them in the side, okay, if there's any puckering. So, because that's less noticeable. So I am going to turn this around because I have my label right here. And I want to pull this in here, and I'm going to start over here. A lot of people want to start on sides. I like to start like this. So this one here, I am going to go up to about 400 for this one. And this one you do have to do your back stitching, and then make sure you're pulling at the same time. You want to pull this fabric so it doesn't pucker, okay? So that's very important to remember. You've got to move with both of your hands. Use both of your hands when you're doing this kind of sewing. And now we're getting close to that edge, and we want to pull that right at the end and make sure that we're pulling this. There we go. And then here we go. We have some puckering going on, so we're going to have to stretch and make sure that as we pull this out, and then I can feel that the strap is right there. So I'm going to have to pull just a tiny bit. There we go. Just to make sure that we're not going to have an issue. Oops, I'm sorry. And I'm doing not quite a 5/8 of an inch, just to, hopefully it's enough. If it's not, I will have to go and do it again. Make sure, oops, sorry, you can't see that when I do that. And I just keep pulling this out. You see how easy that is? Super easy when you can remove that big, wide part of your sewing. Now I'm all the way back to the beginning already. I'm going to cut up my threads right now just so they don't get tangled, create a bird's nest of any kind. And then I'm going to come over here, go over it, and then I'm going to do a back stitch just to reinforce all of that. And now I can pull all this off. and cut that off. So I am going to come in here and snip these just a little bit more. Oops. All right, now we'll go back to the table and look and see if this turned out okay. All right, so now all of this is sewn. We have done our top stitch here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to reach in here and we're going to pull everything out. You want to do it carefully so that you're not, what I'd like to do is before I pull everything out, I like to turn the one box cut for the lining and just stick my thing in there. That's fine. Make sure it's actually, it's going to be easier if I do it now than after it's all in the lining. See there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the other side. These are little tips that people don't tell you because they're boring, number one, and number two, people get just in the habit of doing things and forget to teach that. That's part of the thing you need to do. There. That's a nice box cut. Wow. Okay. So now we're just going to take everything and stuff it out like this. Make sure that the pocket is where I want it to be. Look at that nice pocket. Look at it. I love the pocket. Turned out so cool. All right, so here we have our lining and here we have our bag. So now what we're going to do is, it's all like this. We're going to take the end of the bag. Remember where we did not sew because we had to use the turning. And we are going to now top stitch this closed. You can, and that's another reason why I like to have that box cut already, the boxing already pushed out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn in one side, turn in the other side, make sure they're even, push this out so we don't sew that. We don't want to sew that. So we want to be careful. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and I am going to start sewing right here before the hole, okay? And then I'm just going to top stitch all the way down, and you can just finger press all of this. And when it comes to the end, I am just going to go, I'm going to sew like this and then taper off. That way you don't have to worry about it coming apart, okay? So that's what we're going to go do next, and I'll be right back. All right, so now that has been sewn. So what we do now is we are going to push it all. Make sure I don't have any mistakes on my, okay, I'm fine, into the bag. So we're going to take the lining and push it into the bag. Oh, it just turned out so good. So now, and I want to match the box corners. You see this box corner? So what I want to do is I want to pucker that out just a tiny bit. And I want to make sure that when the lining goes in, the lining matches up. And you kind of have to feel it with your fingers when you're doing it. And then you're just going to keep pushing it into the corners. And this is a stiffer lining. So with soft linings, it's really easy because they just flow in. But remember, this fabric is super stiff for a lining, which is what I wanted, because especially if you're going to buy this for a child, you want it really durable. But even for a woman who wants the princess bag, which is a huge, I didn't realize how much demand people want to buy this bag from me as adults. So I'm just like, oh boy, I am going to have to make a bunch of these, whatever left I have of the fabric, which I had one big bolt of about 7 yards. So I don't know how many more I can make because I already made a few for my granddaughters. So now you see how the bag stands up by itself? Isn't that beautiful? It turned out so nice. Look at these beautiful straps. So this is what happens when you put straps in. This is what happens when you're using the straps that don't go all the way down. Okay. So this looks so, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to do another video to add at the end where you can see me wearing the bag. So now what we're going to do is, we're not finished yet. We want to make sure that this lining is really lined up and below. Now there's two ways you can do it. You can take, but you couldn't put the strap this way. You'd have to do the strap different. You could take lining, a lot of people like that, and push it over like this. That's a pretty way to do a bag, but this bag we're not doing that. So we have to top stitch one more. We have one more stitching to do. So I want to push the pocket in where I want it. I want to push everything in, and I want it to go just a touch below the princess fabric. I want this lining to not pop out. So I'm using a finger pressing method to really push this down like this, okay? This side looks really good. Now let's work on the other. See how pretty that is? How perfect it is? So nothing shows through, and we're gonna top stitch all of this. And that way we're gonna also reinforce these straps. So I did go over these straps. I sewed them once, I sewed them twice when we did the stitching together. And then when we do the top stitch, I'm gonna go back and forth 2 times over that just to make sure it's strong enough. So, oh my gosh, it turned out so good. So now I wanna push this side down. This is the side that does not have the pocket. And we wanna make sure we just keep pushing, finger pressing it there. You can iron it if you want, but this saves a lot of time. Make sure your straps this time, remember when we put it together, the straps have to be inside. Now when we're gonna top stitch, we want the straps on the outside, okay? You're gonna wanna stitch on the outside. So here we go. Oh my gosh, it just looks so gorgeous. Now you can come in, because I've been sewing so long, I don't use clips when I'm doing my top stitching. But I'm going to do this for you just to show you that this is a method. If you're new to sewing or you're afraid that the bottom is going to pop up, you can either use pins or clips right here to keep all of that down for you. You can also iron it down. I don't want to iron a lot because I have the batting in there, and the more that you iron the batting, the more it shrinks, like it doesn't stay nice. It gets flat. So here we had an issue. You always have the issue on the sides, it seems. So you're gonna wanna make sure, yeah, you're gonna wanna clip that there so that doesn't pop up. And I see a little piece popping up here. So if you see a little piece popping up, what you really want to do is be cognizant of that when you're sewing, but then, you know, also clip it, because that kind of gives you a clue probably that you had a hard time there. So here's another place here. And then we're going to obviously sew over that. Oh, so perfect. Love, love, love the way this is turning out. Oh my word, this is just so beautiful. Push this one in a little bit. Sometimes with the straps, it'll kind of have the lining push out just a tiny bit. And if it does, it's not the end of the world, obviously. I mean, after all, these are handmade. We're not making these in a factory. So here we are at the last end. This is always sticks up like this because this is going to be the hard part to sew over. So you're going to want to slow down when you get to this, because no matter how much bunching we took out of that and cut out of that, there's still bunching going on in there. And then we're going to snap it there, and we're going to do one more here just to make sure right before the strap. Okay, now we're going to go to the machine, and we are going to do a top stitch all the way around this gorgeous princess bag. And I'll be listing this one on sale on my Valia shop, which is my handmade and vintage shop on Etsy. So I will be, it'll also be on my eBay shop, but if you want to buy it on Etsy, you can buy it on Etsy. All right, so here it is. Look how nice it turned out. And I love the way the box The box cut turned out so well at the 2 inches on both of these. It looks so good. The label looks amazing. I love it because I was able to do it with white thread, and when I'm doing my goth, I'm using these labels, but I have to do black thread, and it kind of throws the label off just a touch, but then it also, because of the black and black, it looks good because the logo is black. But anyway, so these are the straps. So I am going to, let me see, where is my, show you. So this is how it looks. Oh, I got to go back. Okay, this is better, right? So this is the bag. And remember, we have the nice, pretty pocket inside. I'm glad I used the same color as the lining. And then this goes like this. So on me, who I am 5'4", this is perfect for me. This is a perfect bag. I can hold my hand here and it's just perfect. So for a little girl, a cross body might work, you know, across her body might work. But I just love this straps, which were only, what did we do? 36 inches instead of 44. So I really like that size of the strap. And it fits the size of the bag so well as too. Let's grab my measuring tape just to see what, remember we started off with, what did we start? 18 by, what was it? I forgot. I know 18 was one of them. So let's measure and see what the end size came after quilting, what that is. So it ended up being a 15 this way, and then it ended up being 12 this way. So you did lose, I think we were doing like, so we're losing almost 2 inches by doing the quilting. But I think it's just perfect. It is so perfect. I'm going to be listing this on my Etsy shop. I'm pretty sure I already had a lot of demand from actually adult women who want this instead of children. But if you are buying it for your child, that's fine too. The straps turned out so nice. Love the way the straps turned out. And remember, I put interfacing in those straps, and then you can see that I stitched them more up and down. That's one of the little tricks to use to give them strength. What an amazing, I love the lining. It's so cute. So yeah, so I'm listing this one will be listed on my Etsy shop, and the next, it should be up by the time I edit and print this video. This should be up, and I am going to be doing one tutorial of another one of the exact same one for TikTok, and then putting that one up for sale in my shop. So I'll have 2 of these. I don't know how many more I can get out of that fabric. We'll see. I might be able to get 3 or 4 of these up on Etsy, not sure, but go ahead. And also, if you contact me in the comments, I can give you a coupon for $4 off of my Etsy shop. So go ahead and do that as well. I love this bag. It came out so well. What do you think?